right. People tell me that my English is pretty easy to understand, so let's see if that works out here. I was just back in America for the winter and I just flew in from California last week. People there told me I don't speak American anymore and that my accent's gone. So they say I sound more like I'm European or something. So I don't know what's happened to my English, but hopefully everybody can understand me. Wir könnten das auch auf Deutsch machen, aber wir machen das auf Englisch. So, a small little village by the seaside. Lots of little fisher boats there, and we go to our protagonist of the story, the fisherman. The fisherman is there by the seaside. He's just doing his thing. He's catching some fish. He's having a good day. And on walks the businessman. The businessman comes and is there on vacation. He's watching the fisherman and he's curious about how it's going. And the fisherman comes in and he's caught all this fish. And the businessman says, wow, that's a lot of good fish. That's a great catch. How long did that take you? How many hours was this? And the fisherman says, well, it was probably just maybe 2-3 hours. It was good enough. I had a good time. It's all good now. And the businessman says, so what are you going to do with the rest of your day? That's a lot of free time. Don't you have more work to do? And he says, well, I'm going to spend the rest of my time having lunch with my family, go back and have a nice little meal with my family with the fresh catch. I'll take a nice little nap with my family, a little siesta. Maybe then I'll play some games with my kids and just have a nice day. Maybe I'll meet up with some friends later, make some music and maybe go on a walk and just talk about life. Then later in the evening, we'll all meet at the local pub and we'll have a nice meal and maybe dance until the stars come out, and that's life. And the businessman says, wow, that sounds okay, a little boring for me, but maybe I can help you improve your life. Maybe we can figure out a way to make your life more successful. Here's a plan. So, what if you fished a little bit more? You started to build up your fleet. Maybe you could add more people to your crew. Maybe you could add more ships. You could then start to catch more fish. You could sell more fish. The fisherman says, okay, that sounds not so bad. What comes next? So then he says, well, after a little while, you can leave this little town. You can go to a big city like New York or London. Imagine your life there. You could then start a bigger fishing business. In London or in New York, you could then open some sort of factory. You could get to canning the fish. You could do big quantities of fish. You could go worldwide. And the fisherman says, okay, it sounds like a bit of extra work that I'm not used to, but maybe it could be all right. Well, so what happens after that? Well, if you really want to go big time, then you got to put yourself on the stock exchange. You got to be selling stocks. You got to have ownership for your company. You can be a multi-million-dollar company at that point. And if you're lucky, you can start to open offices worldwide. You can have offices in every major city around the world. The fisherman says, well, okay, it sounds kind of cool, but what's after that? I mean, that's a lot of money. What am I going to do with all that money? Well, you could buy a few houses, right? You could have a big house in your home country. You could have a big house in Europe. You could be a king in your own big house. And after that, you'll have spent some years doing all this, so you can watch it all unfold in front of your eyes from your lovely, lovely mansion. And of course, at this point, the fisherman's saying, I'm not sure if this life is quite the one I want, but it sounds okay. But I guess at that point, what do you do once you reach that age? Well, if you're lucky, you can then sell your businesses, have a bunch of money. You can then buy a house in a nice little seaside village somewhere. There in your little seaside village, you can maybe go on walks, you can go fishing, you can take naps with your family, you can go out to dinner with your friends, you can make some music, and then, you're old and you die, and that's just how it goes. So at this point, of course, the fisherman knew that this was not the best deal that was being offered to him, and luckily he was smart to avoid such an offer. But I think this, for me, is a bit of my story, as I don't know if I'm the fisherman or the businessman, or perhaps I was a businessman that is now back to being a fisherman. But I guess I learned a little bit of the cautionary tale of this. So this is perhaps the tale of another small little fisherman lad. Perhaps when you're young, you're a fisherman because you don't take life so seriously and things are pretty easy and pretty fun. So this is me as a little kid. And my family, as with many other Americans, came from Europe. These 4 or 5 different groups all came over on a boat at some point. Got on this boat. I don't know why you do that. You'd think you'd die in the 1800s getting on a boat, but they survived. And they came over en masse and settled the United States. A lot of us know how this story goes. My family went west, and I grew up in Arizona and California. And so since we're at a Journey Jam, I'll give you a little taste of where I grew up in these different places. Highly recommend traveling there, although it's a little expensive because America's really expensive. But come up to me afterwards if you want some travel tips, and I can help you get around these places.